wouldn't be able to discover the Ein Sof from the Pula, because he wouldn't be Melubish there. We're saying this, we're saying that within the idea of being Mahavi Yesh Ma'ayin, in this concept, or in this phenomenon of Mahavi Yesh Ma'ayin, there we're able to discover Ein Sof. There's an expression of Ein Sof within the fact that a Yesh is Nishava Ma'ayin. That means that in the one of the ingredients of this Havas Yesh Ma'ayin is that Ein Sof affected it. So that's already l'chora shayla of shina, because you have the Ein Sof the way he is ba'atzmei, the way he is, and you have the Ein Sof the way he's expressed in the pu'ula of Havas Yesh Ma'ayin. His Havas Yesh Ma'ayin expresses the idea of Ein Sof. That means that the Eifan Havas wasn't that the Ein Sof is in his own element, and all they were saying that there should be a yesh, but there was a certain kira between the Ein Sof and this Havas yesh, and that's a shayla of shina. So we have Yurim Chassidus, the how Yesh Ma'ayin is the musik of Havas Yesh Ma'ayin is mechriach, the dafke keich hablik volt Mahavi Yesh Ma'ayin. We have different Yurim, because since the Yesh is a davar gashmi and is be'ein arech klal, ein arech gashmi l'ruchni, so in order to have a Yesh from a makkah which is tachas l'ruchni, there has to be a keich blik volt. If the keich ha'mahava would be mugbal, there wouldn't be able to be a Havas Yesh from a keich which is mugbal, because then the Yesh would have to relate somehow, would have to have a kiruf to the ayin. The fact that there was a Hava Yesh which has no erech to the ayin, that shows me that the Mahav is blikvul. So where do we? So in this pu'ul of Havas Yesh Ma'ayin, there that possesses a certain expression of the Ein Sof of the Eibishter. That means that the Eifan Havas wasn't that the Ein Sof stayed the way he is, mufshit from the idea of Havas, and he doesn't relate to Havas. He doesn't relate it because he doesn't have to relate to things in order for things to happen for him. We say not like that. We see that he's invested in this Havas Yesh Ma'ayin. But there's an expression of Ein Sof in this Havas Yesh Ma'ayin. That's a shayla of shina. What's the expression? I'm saying the fact that the Chassidus is mevayer, that in order we understand, it's not together, but Chassidus is mevayer that we have hechreichim that is Havas is b'keich Ein Sof, because the yesh is be'ein arich from the ayin, and if the ayin was mugbal, he wouldn't be able to mahava yesh. The yesh would have to have some bittul to the ayin. He would have to have a shaychus to the ayin. So the fact that there was nishava davar rochik be'ein arich, that's a raya that expresses an akudah of blik vol. So we see an expression of blik vol in this phenomenon of Havas Yesh Ma'ayin. I was saying last time, we say when you get to the psalach chayzim, the psak that doesn't relate to and you can't mekanish their gain from the shini apsulim the psak. You're not going to be able to bring a raya that let's say Chacham paskin that there should be a Hachodesh mitzat kach v'kach. No doctor will be able to. No. Doctor in the mitzias of the shini apsulim, the fact that she turned 3 years old, that doesn't possess keich Ein Sof, and that doesn't express keich Ein Sof. That's tam mitzias reguvas mishtan. Why? Because the psak didn't even though he doesn't relate to this inyan. This inyan is not an expression of his, and he doesn't relate to it. But he doesn't have to. He's not limited to affect only a place which relates to him, because the makir l'chatchila has no makir. He's Ein Sof. But then the way the makir apula is in his element, he's not mugbal. Here, then it wouldn't be a shayla of shina. Here we're saying that this havas was in a way that in this havas is b'keich Ein Sof. Means that creation demands. Okay, within the phenomena of creation, you have a keich Ein Sof. Means in the but in the mechanism of his havus, there you have a keich Ein Sof. I said that the Maggid was makir in the kli. He was makir the uman. How was he makir the uman from the kli? Because how was the kli made? The uman had to invest himself in making the kli. If the one that made the kli would stay removed from the Sabbath Akid, he wouldn't express himself. It would just be just a hand's work. He wouldn't invest himself. He wouldn't invest his kechatzir. He wouldn't invest his nefesh in making the beauty of this keli. If it just had to do a technical thing, screw in a screw. Then it wouldn't express him. Then the maggid wouldn't be able to recognize in the kli the tchuna of the fact that he's a summa ba'inachas, the fact that he's blind, because the uman didn't invest himself here. The Uman stayed in his own self. The fact that Maggid was able to see in the Kli the Uman is because the Uman invested himself in the Kli. So now within the Kli, the tzir of this Kli stems from the Uman. So in the tzir you have now an expression of the Uman because it came from him. That's a whole different word. Then you're saying Shini. You say you have the Ein Sof the way he is Be'etzim, and you have the way the Ein Sof relates to his Havas Yesh Ma'ayin. What does it mean have the way you release? You have the way Yesh Ma'ayin contains Ein Sof. The way Yesh Ma'ayin expresses Ein Sof. So that's the Chodesh Musik of Shini already. So of them, I'm Kabbalah geantwortet that they answer that Kesser is Ein Sof. So I said last time, much what Kesser is Ein Sof. They say the Kesser is a Kadmon. So he touches in the Agah, Shaloi Hay is man Shaloi Hay Yaratzi. So they the way they learned was Atzmus Shles Kol HaTeirim. Shles Kol HaTeirim is beyond the whole is not Begeder Metzias altogether. It's built in Metzias Nimsa. But the Shaila is then we have there's Atzmus Shles Kol HaTeirim beyond higher than the whole Musik of Metzias. Then you have we're in Eilamis. So in Eilamis we're already in the category of existence, and the type of existence that whatever that say their stalshalis is, the type of existence that Eilamis is. What's the type of existence? It's a certain mitzvah, a certain inyan. So that already the shaila is within the mitzvah of Eilamis, what has to be? What's a chiddush within the realm of Eilamis, and what has to be? What's ba'atzim? So what they said is that within the category of the mitzvah of Eilamis, keser is a must. Can't be otherwise. The mitzvah, the way it is be'etzem, is bli gvul, is ein sof. Tzir, gvul, is a chiddush. Even within the realm of our existence, even within the context of the mitzvah, the way it is in Seder Shtalshalos, so gvul is a chiddush. Why does it have to be dafke chachma and dafke chesed? But not to have a specific form of mitzvah. So bli gvul pshitis, not a specific type of tnuah, not a specific form of mitzvah. But blig volam pshitis, not a specific form. That doesn't have to be created. That's the way it has to be. So and once you say this word was clear, this word was mishvashana. This word. So mela in the klal that ain't. In other words, the klal that kol mashish le'tichla tchila yesh le'tichla is anything which has a beginning, has a sof means anything which. What's the havan of kol mashish le'tichla yesh le'tichla? Anything which is a chiddush. It doesn't have to be. It means the be'etzem the reality is otherwise, or it doesn't have to be this way. The fact that it is this way is a chiddush. What is uvgetan? Factually speaking, it's that way. So it's factually speaking. It's not that this is the way it has to be. It's not this is the way things are. Be'etzem. This is the way things are intrinsically. This is the way this is the way things were made. This is the way things are. You say. Factually, it's there's chachma. Factually, there's chesed. So then the chachma only exists only in the area of chachma, only where chachma was created. Masha'enkin blig volam pshitas, according to the Mekubalim, that's not something which has to be invented. Mitzad ha'atzmos, nothing has to be. But mitzad the category of mitzias, mitzad the musik of mitzias al piseichel, let's say, how do things have to be al piseichel? Al piseichel, what has to be is no tzir, no specific tzir, pshitas. But pshitas, that's the way things are intrinsic. That's the way things have to be. So pshitas doesn't have to be invented. If it doesn't have to be invented, it doesn't have a specific place. It's not shaykhis to a certain area in the mitzias. That's the way the mitzias is, and that's the way the mitzias is. So it has no limits. So from him could come any type of mitzias, even mitzias which is bein arich. The idea of sof, the idea of having agbal in your espashtus is the idea that you're only shaykh a certain area. That's only shaykh if the fact that you exist, it's the reality. The mitzias is not the way things are. That's not the way it is naturally. It was invented. Factually, this is the way it is. Then you only exist how much you possess l'payim. But if the mitzias of Ein Sof, the mitzias of Kesher, according to the Mekubalim, this is the way reality is, ba'atzim. This is the way it is. This is the truth. Not the ultimate truth is atzmos, but that the truth of atzmos, we don't relate to that truth. Within the tchunis of the mitzias that we're aware of, the type of mitzias that Eilamis is, the type of reality that Eilamis is, the truth of that mitzias is Kesher, is Ein Sof. Is the fact that the Eibishter is Ein Sof. The Eibishter is bligvul. The fact that the Eibishter is beyond the idea of bligvul, that's true. But that in Gedra Eilamis, that nekuda is not that nekuda is not expressed in Eilamis. That's beyond the whole idea of mitzias. So that's when you say al derech that there's the neshama l'mayla and you have the person l'mata. The person l'mata doesn't relate to the neshama l'mayla. It's a whole different caliber. Saying what's your truth? Your truth is the truth of you, the way you are. You say, what's your truth? Every person has what's his etzem, and what is something that it's a behavior, or he does it inside a certain reason. It's not his natural self. It's not his true self. Say, what's your true self? Your neshama, the way it is in Ilma Bria. That's not my true. That's the way I am in a different realm, b'chlal. But what's my true self? My true self, the way I'm in this level. In this level, what's the truth? What's the truth? This is what I'm saying. Atzvus is b'chana begeder ha-metzias sheba'elamis. Then all the bertzene should be a gather of metzias of elamis. And according to them, the metzias of elamis is not a keli for shtilas kol ha-Torah. Because once you're speaking about elamis is a metzias. Once you're speaking about metzias, it has to have a certain definition already. So what's the most basic definition? Not a specific. What's the most basic definition? The very fact that it exists. What type of existence? That doesn't have to exist. What type of existence? But the very fact that it exists, that's mukhrich. So the truth of metzias of elamis is blikvul, is pshitas, is kaseh.
That's why it's a kadmon.
So yeah, mitzad metzias of elamis is a kadmon. Shtilas kol ha-Torah, that's a totally different. That's higher than the whole idea of metzias. Metzias can't begin by shtilas kol ha-Torah. So all of a sudden there should be a velt. Not only there should be a musig of a metzias. Then it ultimately resulted in metzias of elamis. But there's a musig of a metzias. What is the initial state, or what's the truth? What's the truth legabi the musig of metzias? So the basic gather of metzias is that it's a certain function. No function at all. That's b'cham. So there's no metzias altogether. It's built in metzias. But we speak about a metzias, it has to have some type of definition. But you don't need a. But what's the most basic definition? The idea of existence itself, not a certain type of existence, and that doesn't have to be in a Hachodesh. Once all the percentage should be a metzias, so what's going to be the emes of that metzias? The pshitas of Elokus, the pshitas of Ein Sof. So that's pshat lahaya zman shel lahaya. There's akbala of makim. That means that keser is a mechudesh tegabi lamalam and a keser. But from when you have the metzias of elamis, higher than elamis, keser doesn't exist. But from when you have the metzias of elamis, keser never had to be in a Hachodesh. That there was no zman, that there was no keser. What does mean there was no zman? From when this category of reality was invented, Keser existed. It means that the Gabi Eilamis, Keser didn't have to be made. Keser is the Eilamis the way they are Be'etzim. I don't mean Eilamis. Keser is the way mitzad Eilamis al-Likus is Be'etzim. According to the Musagam of Welt, the highest darga that a nivra is able to be massive of the truth is the truth of Keser. That there's a darga there's an Eibusha which is blikvul, which is pashat from Tzir. Beyond pshitis, that's an in that the Metzias Sabriya is not a keli for that. So what's the initial musig of a lukus? The way it's made in Metzias is that there's a blikvul, there's a pshitis. So Keser is the emes the Gabi Nivraim, the Gabi the Metzias of Elamis. So this he says Lehezman. There was never a time that Keser didn't exist. There was a place where Keser didn't exist. It means beyond the whole idea of Metzias, there was no musik of Keser. The Rebbe and he's not mochach on anything. But when Oliver said there should be a Metzias of Welt, or Metzias of Welt means a specific type of reality with a certain function, then Keser didn't have to be in a Hachodesh because Keser is pshitas. Then the fact, what's the initial state of that Metzias? The blikvul of Elokus. And since it didn't have to be in a Hachodesh, so within the gather of Elamis, Keser is not mugbal. In Soflis Pashtus. Within the Metzias, because within the category of Elamis, Keser is muchrich, Keser is the emes. And if it's the emes, so there's no limit. It doesn't have a place within this reality. It's not shaykhs a certain tchum within this reality. It's the truth of this reality. If it's the truth, it's everywhere. It doesn't have a specific place. The Agdar of a Metzias Amitis is that it has no makim. Something chas makim means that it's not the truth of this reality. If it's the truth, why does it have to have a specific space where it exists? That's the truth. You just say a dugma, just a dugma b'ambi. You say that the fact that this table is here, that's a factual thing. This table is in this room. But the fact that a sibba has to be before a mesubah. So that's because you say, what's the nature of the existence that a sibba comes before a mesubah? It's because it's a fact. It's a factual thing that every time we check, the father is older than the son, or it's not stam. It's not based on the facts. It's because logically it can't be otherwise. It's not possible there should be other ways. But effect, the cause has to be before the effect. So it doesn't need to have an expression. It doesn't have to be a factual existence in order for it to exist. It's the truth. It can't be otherwise. It's logically it must be this way. So even if the table wouldn't be here physically, the table wouldn't be here factually, then it wouldn't be here. There would be no table. The fact the table exists is factually it's here. The signal for even let's say there was no father and son. The idea would exist anyway. As the existence of this idea that a cause comes before the effect is an existence which is beyond the fact that that's the way things factually are. It's because it doesn't make sense otherwise. This is the way it is. So al derech zeh, within the category of elements, see also that see what comes before a mesubav. Only after there's an idea of things have to make sense. See before a mesubav. But before we invented that things have to make sense. But once we're living in this reality that things have to make sense, so a siba before a mesubav doesn't have to be created. Did you have to create the 1 + 1 = 2? You didn't have to create it. You had to bring the table here. Even after there's a world, the table had to be brought up. If you didn't bring the table, it wouldn't have been there. Once the Abisha wanted, all the Bersein should be a veld. All the Bersein things have to make sense. Did you have to create the 1 + 1 = 2? It's not possible otherwise. So, and that truth is not a fact. That's beyond fact. It's not because factually every time you take a one, another one's going to be 2. It's not possible otherwise. So al derech zeh, according to the Shittas of Kabbalim, the gabi the misug metzias ha'elamis. The gabi, the makim ha'elamis, the gabi, this category of being, the truth is pshittas. Chachme bin das, that's already specific types of reality. That doesn't have to be. The same way, is an empty room. Why does it have to be a table there? You have to bring it here. A room is mechayiv a table. You can have a room without a table. But you can't have a room without the 4 walls, let's say. But a table is a chiddush. So without 4 walls, you don't have a room altogether. So that's the kaviyach, the essence, the truth of the room. That just 4 walls and a floor. A table is not the truth. It doesn't represent the truth of the room. That had to be brought here. That's a chiddush already. So Keser, the pshittas of Elikus, that's the emes, the gabi the Metzias Ha'elamis. And since it's the truth, so whatever is, in order to be Ein Sof, this pashtus, the first part of Ein Sof, Bli Gvul, that you're not mugbal makim, not shlis kol you're not mugbal makim. For that, any inyan which is the truth of that darga has the stchuna of Ein Sof.
The first.
Yeah. So what's the problem with the Ramak? What's the Ramak haltish davon? It says Ramak chelik al zeh. What does he say? Just look at this. V'zeu desfirlu sharatzim keser ubchinas ein sof mamish. V'lechein al yodi hu ha'isavus. Ein sof mamish. Ramak chelik al zeh. What does Ramak call? V'eimer she'in litin kadlus l'shum davar nimsi menu kim Eiliv yisbarach levad. V'cheinu b'emes. The Ramak holds, he argued with him Kabbalah. He held that Ein Lit and Kadmon Shum Davar Nimsim. What's the basis of the Ramak? What's the said in the Kabbalah? The said in the Kabbalah is what comes out according to the Kabbalah. According to the Kabbalah comes out. There's Atzma Shlias Kol Teirim, that's true. But that's the ultimate truth. But what's the truth mitzad Eilamis? What's the truth? Without let's say Kabbalah, Megalim, learn Teirav Eisman, there's a Shlias Kol Teirim, let's say. Amar Lu Bezgalas. But mitzad, what is the Metzias? What's the truth regarding the Metzias Eilamis? According to the truth, the Metzias Eilamis is Bli Gvul. Shittas Keser is Kadmon. The Ramak says there cannot be a Metzias that the reality should be different than the ultimate truth, than the truth of Atzmas. That's the Ein Liten Kadmon Shum Davar, the Shum Davar Haninsim, and it came out is Baruch Levad. So Kenner Zayin, even though we're dealing with a relative idea of Kadmon, it's only Kadmon, relatively to Welt. But Skum says that the Metzias Ha'elamis doesn't express the truth, doesn't express the truth of Atzmas. Mitzad Metzias Ha'elamis Kaviyachol, the ultimate reality is Bli Gvul, not Shlos Kol Teirim. The Ramak Zak Kenner Zak. We can't say since the truth is that the Eibush is not mukhrich on anything. And Atzma saying Shilas Kol Teirim, he's the truth of reality. So there can't be that the Metzias Sabriya should be Shalik Fi Emes. So Mele, it's nirgash in Welt. It's nirgash in Metzias that even Pshitas doesn't have to be. The idea of Pshitas, nothing has to be. Not Pshitas, not Tzir. The only thing that has to be is whatever he wants. According to the Ramak didn't explain how. He just says the Metzias. Ein litin kadm l'shum davar hanin nisvan. Kimele bisbarach levad.
The Moshe 1 plus 1 plus 2, how would you say that?
Huh?
The Moshe 1 plus 1 plus 2, that would mean, how would the Ramak say that? 1 plus 1 plus 2 is because when he says once, say things have to make sense, right?
I don't understand what you're saying.
You said before.
No, what I'm saying is, we're margin. I'm saying is, let's say according to Kabbalah Moshe, let's say. You tell a person that, a person's going to tell you, say, do things have to make sense? So who said things have to make sense? A person's going to tell you, what do you mean, who said things have to make sense? That's the reality. That's the ultimate. We don't even question that. That's what Kabbalah are saying. The Mitzad Geder Abriya, the ultimate truth is Bligvol. That Bligvol doesn't have to exist. That doesn't. The world doesn't possess such a svar. In Elamis, doesn't exist this ingredient, that Gvul doesn't have to exist, that a specific tzir doesn't have to exist. That's who as a person. Does it have to be dafka? How does reality have to begin? What's the truth? The truth is chachma. What's up is chachma? Why not a different type of tzir? But no tzir at all. No specific tzir. Being pushed from tzir. That's why that also doesn't have to be. Why doesn't that's the way reality begins. That's the way in Kabbalah. The Ramak said Yamot Kumtei is that the reality doesn't reflect the truth. Und das kann man nur sagen, that the reality reflects the truth other than Atzmos. Das kann man nur sagen. According to the Ramak, even in Welt is Nergash. In reality is Nergash that the ultimate truth is that even Blikvot doesn't have to exist. The only thing, the only thing that actually exists is the Eibusher himself. How is it but, according to the Ramak, what taka the pshat, l'chodesh l'skol terem is beyond the whole idea of Metzias? So how is that, you say a person's going to feel, you have a neshama l'mayla, a person's going to feel like he's not, the way he is here, if a person goes into a matzah where it doesn't suit him, you know, a person is makam ativis b'vis medish, he goes to a place that's not masim his mohos. So he's margish that he's in a place that doesn't suit who he really is. But no one's going to feel that because his neshama is in meitzira darten, so when he's in neshama lubish beguf, he feels out of place. He doesn't suit being here. Be'etzim he belongs in. That's a different Welt b'chlal. So the true self that you're able to, which self do you possess within this category is your true self within this category. The fact that you once the neshama the way before the whole procedure of the whole process of the Seder Shalshal, it exists in Chacham Eilah, you don't relate to that in you b'chlal. So not the darging answer that you don't possess that in you. So the Ramak says nishtat. The Ramak says that an Eilam is it's nirgash in the Mitzvah Eilam is that Blikvot doesn't have to be, Pshita doesn't have to be, Kesha doesn't have to be. What has to be is only the Eibusher himself. And it means in Bria there's the Bria in Bria itself is nirgash that nothing has to be. Not nothing in the sense that no specific tzir has to be. Nothing has to be. Even the idea of nothing doesn't have to exist. Only what the Eibusher wants. That's the only thing that has to be. Keser Bligvol Pshitis is also Hachodesh. That also doesn't have to exist. That was invented. Even after the idea of reality was invented, all were saying there should be a Welt. Within this reality of Welt is Nergash that Pshitis is not the ultimate. Is not the truth. That's not the way things begin. Things begin the way he wants. Nothing has to be. And all the said there should be Keser. Keser is Mechudesh. So Mele Keser is Mechudesh and a Mugla like everything else. It doesn't have to be. He was invented. You say, what's the truth of the room? That it's empty. So according to the Ramak, what's the truth of the room? Not Pshitis. The truth of Welt. What's the emes legabi Welt? Emes legabi Welt is that nothing has to be, not even the idea of nothing. Whatever he wants. The shaila is v'idos take. L'chora the Eibusher shel eskol and this is mitzias. The Ramak didn't explain. Basically, the word ends up being according to the Ramak that since the Eibusher shel eskol the Ramak says this anachas kenish zayin that the mitzias sabriya should oppose the ultimate truth. I can ask a kashiv: how is the mitzias? How is the nirgash mitzias that there's something, an idea which is beyond the whole idea of mitzias? Of shlis kol teilim, there's no kashis. And aspas, there's no questions. So his truth is nirgash, even though you don't understand how it's nirgash. But that's the mitzias. the Hechel of the Ramak is mekenish sagen that there should be an emes in Welt other than the emes of Atzmus. There cannot be any phase of reality that's not behesten to the ultimate truth. So therefore, the ultimate truth is nirgash everywhere. Whether we understand, we don't understand how it's nirgash there. It doesn't make sense. That's how mitzias, which the chura mitzias is not a keli to the musik of building mitzias of shleis kolaterim. But still, shleis kolaterim has no agbalas at all. So it's nirgash in mitzias that nothing has to exist, nothing has to be. He didn't speak on mitzias mitzvahs. This is the Alter Rebbe's word. What's the shayla mitzias mitzvahs?
No, it's not shayla.
No, that's what we're going to see later mitzias mitzvahs. We'll see later. I'm saying this. I'm saying this word. Ramak chelik asevayim. What's the mechalik there? What's the Ramak say? Shein litin kadzen l'shum davar nimsemen k'meli is baruch levad. What are they saying? That there's other thing that are kadmen. He says himself, Shlohei is man Shlohei eretz. The Ramak says, does good the Kevin yourself. Because Yamot Kumtei is that the Metziah Sabriya is not Behesem with the Emes. No, so Erhal, that there cannot be a Metziah. What's the But he holds that there can't be that the Metziah Elam is, since the Eibush is the Emes, it's kind of the Metziah Emes should be Shalek Fi Emes. And the Baal Eibush Shlos Kol HaTeirim, doesn't have to make sense. How this Emes is Emes B'Kol Makim. But nicht Mugler is Emes B'Kol Makim. Sie versteht das nicht. He says later, later I'll see this more. But the Ramak is another, al derech like the Ashant of Tuvgat in Innovated Levad is on the Tzias outside of Alakus. This already has Chala of such a Inyan. Sie haben gehalten, there's the emes of the Eibush there, and then there's a Welt. And in Welt is not Meir the ultimate truth of Alakus. Because Welt is not a Kedi, Welt is Mitzias, and the Eibush is Shlos Kolaterim. So in Welt you only have a limited version of Alakus. The ultimate of Alakus is beyond the Musik of Welt. The Ramak said, Skenish Zayn that there should be, that the Mitzias Sabriya should be Shalei Behesem to the emes. So I'm saying this it doesn't give a hesber here, but since Atzmi Shalas Kol HaTeirim, there's no kashas. So this emes is everywhere, and this emes is going to be nirgash everywhere, even though it's not behesim. There's no dover in the everywhere that makes it a kedi for that. But Shalas Kol HaTeirim doesn't need a kedi. No, we'll see the way there's a Chassidus. He's not Meir in the Ramak. We'll see the whole Hemshech is bigger the way the whole Indian is of Chassidus. That's where he starts off now. The Chassidus is a whole different Indian.
This is the Hachodesh.
Yeah, we'll see I remember now the certain reveal once the Rebbe spoke once a beer in a sicha. There's a Gemara song the Rebbe said it's ani gaveh mimcha. Ani gaveh mimcha. I think it's a Gemara. I remember now the pratim. But there's that the Rebbe told ani gaveh the lashon ani gaveh mimcha. From aggressive friend. So what's up? Shad the Rebbe telling him these aggressive friend. Shad the Rebbe the shaila is if within the gedarim of the nivra is nirgash that the Eibush is higher. You say you could have a mitzias if you have let's say you have a mitzvah learned. So you have one. So you have there's different dargis. A greater chacham, a kleiner chacham. You have one even that in his world, according to the musagam of seichel that he has, and according to the ultimate that he's able to reach, according to his musagim, let's say. Within his ideas, there's nothing greater than him. Let's say there's v'chala higher darga. The same way we can't relate to malachim. Malachim are higher than us. We don't. It doesn't exist. But within our gedarim, the whole idea of malachim doesn't exist. The type of reality that we relate to is something we're able to see and touch and feel, whatever, with chamisha choshim. A malach which you cannot relate to with chamisha choshim. So within within our category of mitzias, there's no musik of a malach. So a malach is higher than us. Of course, a malach is higher than us, but we're not able to be aware of that. We're not able to sense the whole reality of a malach. So from our point of view, there's no reality of malach. So ani gavei mimcha, that in the nivras musagim there should be the herkish of ani which is gavei mimcha. Azay l'chori, you're going to say it's not shaykh that the nivra should be margish the ani, which is the gamri gaveh mimcha, because you're only able to relate to an idea which exists in your world. The way the Eibush is beyond b'chlal the whole musik of mitzias. That's not shaykh for the nivra to be margish b'chlal. The same way it's not shaykh to know that a nivra should be margish and mitzias which gamri shalei lefi erke. It's not possible. How could a nivra be margish and mitzias which gamri shalei lefi erke? So if it's a mitzvah which you relate to, which you're able to that exists within your world, so it has to have some relation to your mitzvahs. But ani the way it's legamri mufshit from the mitzvah sabriya, that's the chod not shaykh to be nirgash in the mitzvah sabriya. And then the Gemara says ani gaveh mimcha that within the mitzvah sanivra, he should come to the recognition that there's an ani which is higher, which is gaveh mimcha. Means not like a malach and a bria where the malach taka doesn't. We have no ways of relating to the malach. Without that in the Ramak, you don't have the full beer of the Indian. The Ramak just says just one word, that it's not shaykh that the Metzias should express a truth outside of the ultimate truth. It's not shaykh that mitzad Metzias Sabriya there should be another maskana shalik fi emes. The maskana has to be according to the truth. But v'idos taket, that in the Metzias Sabriya is nirgesh, that nothing has to be besides Ratzmus. According to the Alter Rebbe, the Metzias begins from Shlos Kol HaTorah. The whole beard of Eir is that within the Gedarim of Metzias Sabriya, within the Gedarim of Metzias, we find that there's a musik that a Metzias is able to reflect the built-in Metzias Tagami. That's the Mashal of Eir Mein Amar. Not just Mr. Shlos Kol HaTorah. The Alter Rebbe's word is not just Mr. Shlos Kol HaTorah. Within the Gidrei Abriya, within the nature of, within within the shaykh is, how is it shaykh? You say, let's say take a musik of like I say before malachim and people. It's not shaykh that a ben adam, which only thing we're able to relate to is chamisha chushim, should feel something which is beyond chamisha chushim. And if the Indian was in slavish and chamisha chushim, so then it's already not a malach. Then it's the way the Indian relates to chamisha chushim. So same thing when you get to mitzias and built to mitzias. Let's say atzmas is built to mitzias nimtza, beyond the whole idea of mitzias. A person is a mitzias, built to mitzias, we're not able to relate to built to mitzias. A person, we're not dealing with a person, we're dealing with bechlal mitzias. Say the shashlos, the chachmat atzilus. Built to mitzias is beyond the whole Indian. So the Ramak and according to the Ramak and the Kabbalah and the we have the shaila. Manavshach. The atzmas is built to mitzias, and a mitzias is only able to relate to a musik of mitzias. So the Kabbalah said the legabe the mitzias, the ultimate is bligvul, taket darganal, which is able to relate to the musik of mitzias. The ultimate and the highest darganal, which is able to relate to the musik of mitzias is kasem. The fact that the ultimate mitzias of the is not able to be expressed in vel. The Ramak said without being mevayer how, even though taket the mitzias is be'enarich far from the ultimate mitzias, still the mitzias is nirgash that the ultimate truth is that nothing has to be. How is it? Rabban Akasha means imagine that in the chamusha chushim we were margish. Somehow, there's something beyond the Chamisha Choshim. Even though that idea which is beyond is taka beyond the Chamisha Choshim. That's the Ramak. So, we understand that there's no beer that he's nirgash in the Mitzvah Sabriya. But his truth is nirgash l'chol apart to the extent that the Mitzvah is not a stira to his truth. The maskana of Welt can't be bestira to the ultimate truth, to the truth of Atzmas. Without the beer of Ermin Amar, without Rebbe has found a way, so to speak, that within the Chamisha Chushim, they're able to express a mohos which is beyond the Chamisha Chushim. We found a way kaviyachal within the Metzias Sabriya, within Metzias is able to reflect the built-in Metzias Kameshu. And so we're able to find that in Metzias, where does Metzias begin? With built-in mitzias, with built-in mitzias nimsa, with shlos kol HaTorah. Because we found a way that shlos kol HaTorah is able to be expressed and is able to be nirgash within the character of mitzias, within reality. Reality doesn't begin by gather. Reality begins by built together legami. That's what I was going to see the beer, but that's what the Alter Rebbe is saying. That means the mitzias habriya could reflect that. That's through the beer of Ermin Amar. The beer of Ermin Amar is that on one hand, is gilu. On one hand, what is Megale, the more Kameshu higher than Gilu? That's the Alter Rebbe's mashal. So we find the musig in Welt, a musig in Mitzias, where you have on one hand the Mitzias, but it expresses the built-in Mitzias Kameshu. That's we have to send mashal b'Menor, that's mashal b'Menor. So what's the verdient from them? That on one hand, catches the Hachodesh, because in Mitzias is like how that that within the Mitzias of Welt, The truth of Welt is Atzmus, according to Alter Rebbe. That's a Nigavay Mimcha. The truth of the Nivra is the Ani, which is Gavaya from the Mitzias HaNivra. And that's the truth from the vantage point of the Nivra. From the vantage point of Mitzias elements. That's in general the idea.
Which is the Ramak and the Alter Rebbe is whether
It's a whole different word than Ganzen. According to the Ramak, basically, there's if you want to say in the Shenis the Rebbe uses many times. So there's Etzem and there's Geluyim. Etzem is that Atzvus Kameshu, the Gabi him there's no Gdarim, the Gabi him there's no Shailas, so he's present everywhere. But the everywhere within the characteristic of everywhere you don't get the Atzvus. Everywhere is Metzias. So he is does that the Atzmus is everywhere. Because that's called Terem, Avem is Shtakin Kashas. So he exists everywhere. Then here we're saying something else. That from the point of view of everywhere you're able to discover Atzmus. That the Metzias originates in the Bulta Metzias. And within the Metzias, within the ingredients of the Metzias, you have the Bulta Metzias. That's all different word. That's through the beer of Ermein Amar. On one hand is Gili Amar. It's Gilu. Gilu is a Metzias. But what is this Gilu? The Gilu, it's being Megala the Mar. It's being Megala the Makar, the way the Makar is mufshit from the Musik of Gilu. And that's a Musik of Metzias. Means we were able to find the Metzias. It's a Metzias on one hand, but it reflects the ultimate truth. So according to Alter Rebbe, the Metzias reflects the Emes the way it is beyond Metzias. That's all different. Yeah, there's coming down and then you get the general point that's done for statement. Let me just see the lashon he says it inside. Let's just see. The Chenu Be'emes, he's going to be fired later, but he says in the Kudas Advar. So that's what I'm chelik as of Emes in the Kadmon Shem Dabrin Tzimah Gimel Yisbarach Levad. Chenu Be'emes. But that's Rabbeinu Zal B'Ger Hachodesh. But Chenu Be'emes is only the fact that Keser, that's one thing that Chassidus is saying. Mekenish is talking about Keser as a Kadmon, even though we're only dealing with the guy with the Mitzias elements. Because Mekenish given Kadmus, the only one that's Kodum, it has to be Nirgash B'Kol Makim, that the ultimate truth is the Eibishter. Nothing else has to be. But a beer does bring the Das Rabbeinu Zal B'Ger Hachodesh. She's Havus Yadei Eir. So according to the Ramak, we're going to see later, this Havus is B'Kei Chatzmas. According to the Ramak, there's no musig of Eir. The Etzim is Shlis Kol Eir. And this Havus is this Havus, the inner of Shlis Kol Eir is somehow Nirgash in this Havus. That we'll see later. But that's the B'Nus Al B'Ger Hachodesh. On one hand, this Havus is not at the Etzim. That means according to Alter Rebbe, the Atzmus is moved from the nice Havus. But it's Havus at the Eir. That means there's a musik of air. There's the way the lukus comes begilui. We're able to relate it. That's the gilui of lukus. There is that diagonal lukus where lukus comes begilui. But leidach this air. So how's the air? L'chore gilui. So gilui shlos kol air. So v'lei mepneshu b'chinas kadmus chas v'shalom. But ki'im mepneshu mein amar. The air is take ein sof, and the air expresses the ultimate in sof. Even the ein sof shlos kol air. Why? Because this air which in Yani is Gilui, but he reflects the Mar Kamaishu. That's Meir Amar. We'll see later. Since the Gilui reflects the Mar Kamaishu, so through the air is expressed within the Gilui, you have the Shlos Kol Atayra, and you have the ultimate itself. And the ultimate itself is expressed within the Gdarim of Gilui. We'll see later. V'lachenu mahavev keich ein sof chulu kanal. V'zeh mashchidish abenish posayidin. The air nikra ein sof and deshu mein amar. That's not Rebbe's chiddush. Not like the Mukubalim said that Keser is ein sof. Val Keser is alein ein sof. That Rebbe said that there is ein sof in Mitzias. There is the ultimate ein sof in the Mitzias, which that's the air, which is Gilui. But this ein sof is not an ein sof the way it relates to Mitzias. It's the ein sof of Atzmos being Nizgaleh. It's the air mein amar. It's the Gilui amar. So the mahus of this ein sof is Atzmos ein sof, the way it's Nizgaleh. He says, "Mukabala, but Rishanim died on the Shmei Shiur and way himself and said that's making up." Rabbeinu Chidesh, the Shmei who das was the Chazal sagen. Actually, Shmei is not Ratzin, even though they says Shmei Bigamatri Ratzin. He says Shmei is He's going to say later in the member of Kiimcha, he explains how is connected to Shem. He explains the member of Kiimcha. That there is Shmei who but who ain't Saf? and he's kadmin. He's being later. Leimis at atzmi. Not because the musig of gili has to be. Not because the musig of gili is ain't so. But because the whole mitzias of gili is that is the gili amor. Kim yitzad amor. The hainu shemein amor. These fun that he brings now, he brings the Nekudah of Alter Rebbe and he's Masber and Mefaret and Hemshech Mamar. Here in this member of Violech, the beginning of the member of Beikir, he brings the Nekudah Sadvarim and the Schukas and Kimcha is Mefaret the beer. What's the pshat? The beer of the Chiddush Alter Rebbe. Here he brings the Alter Rebbe within the context of what Alter Rebbe is being Metaveh, what Alter Rebbe is being Mevair. And the Prati Abir of Ermein Amar that he speaks in Hemshech Mamar. So it's the Schukas and Kimcha. Yeah, we'll see. But here is because yesh ba'er hanabera kol batz musa yichulu b'chinas shu b'chinas kat musa is bari. Aval zeh mash elim b'chinas b'sisar klal klal. He's going to say it later. That the shayr sha'er, the originates in a madrega which is kadmi klikat musa is bari. But that's not a mitzvah. I will see later. This part. Umei leiksha zakush eseramak. So what's the Alter Rebbe say? What's the code of Alter Rebbe? That is gilui. So if is gilui, it's an inyan which is mitzias gilui. But this which is mitzias is ein sof betachlis. But it's not ein sof betachlis, which is the ein sof of mitzias, the way the Mekubalim learn. It's the ein sof. It's the Meir's ein sof. The reason why you have ein sof in the mitzias is because the mitzias reflects. It's me'ein amar. It's an the mitzias begins with an which is called inyani is gilui ha'etzem. And the fact that the Gilu is Megala the Ein Sof is because the Musig of begins with a darga which is called Kadm, which begins with Kadm Kat Musis. That we have to see later. It means if the that's what he adds over here. I'm saying the Nekudah we have to see later the beer. He says the V'yesh be'er B'china shu B'chinas Kadm Kat Musis. There's a B'china in which this B'china never had to be in a Chachodesh. The same way the Atzmus Zakadmin is a darga in which is Kadmin Ke Kadmus Atzmus. Have to see later. Because if the didn't have a b'china which is kadm kikat musay, then the wouldn't be gilei amar. Understand what's the musig? We have a question over here. On one hand, ask what shilas kol atayr. We're dealing with mitzias. Mitzias and built mitzias is there's no way of bridging between the two. The Alter Rebbe found a way that there's a mitzias which kol inyani is gilei amar, and this mitzias of gilui reflects the ultimate ein sof. The Ein Sof of the Mar. So we have to understand what's the Pshat Me'ein Amar. What's the beer that reflects the Mar. And according to that beer, in order to say Me'ein Amar, the way the Alter Rebbe said it, it's negate to say that the begins in a B'china, which is Kadmi Ke Kadmus Atzmus. Because if the begins from a darga of Chidush, then it wouldn't be Me'ein Amar Mamish. We'll see later the beer. We'll see later the beer. We'll see this. Since the Eid is ain't sof not and then bavarns ain't sof because mean amar lechein yeh beival yada is havas ma'ayin liyesh. Means beival yada to be this havas ma'ayin liyesh. That means this havas ma'ayin liyesh possesses, expresses shluas kol atayr. The Alter Rebbe said the yesh reflects mitziusim atzmos. Means within the characteristic of the yesh, you have the mitzias atzmos. How is that? That the mitzias sabri, you have the inyan of atzmos. According to what they said before, he said it before mamash b'ktzara, but you had the inyan of shlilas kol atayr in the way it's reflected in the Savas Yishmai, not only bleak blow. Because through the ein sof of atzmos is nisgale begilui, comes in mitzias, to the extent that it's reflected in the mitzias sabriya. It's babigilui. Okay, we'll have to see the prat. Because any atzmos musa be'er mamish. Shai of shin. There's no shai of shin because it's not. It's like some shachas mimenu levat. What? Huh?
Isn't this all the Das Mukbalim?
No. This is the Alter Rebbe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shachas is Hemshech the Alter Rebbe. He says, according to Mekubalim Rishonim, this house is not Gerem Mashini because it's B'chinas Ratzon in Simen. She B'chinas Shmei L'daitem Zal. U'Pirush Shmei Zeh Shchidush Habeinu Zal. Who Shmei Belvad, that Shmei is that's Chidush Rabbeinu Zal. That Shmei is יש זה בית מדרגת חשוב מבחינת גילוי, אני גם לפני הצמצום. ואז זה נשייך למרקת מחס השלום, כי מה שמין אמר, ובעצם משקול בעצמוסים מה, שבחינת זו שייך למרקת מקודנס, ורת משי סבור. That we're going to see the Maimer of Gilach. The emes is that this Maimer, I didn't see another Maimer, this Maimer of ויולך is used to the Maimer in Eira Teira. In Eira Teira in Yonim. But, so there's a guy here, I don't remember how the Maimer in Eira Teira goes. This Chidush Rabbeinu Zal, I don't think it's there in Eira Teira. The whole arichas of the two Perushim in Ein Sof, that doesn't exist there in Eira Teira. That there's Ein Sof Bligvo and Ein Sof Shilas Kol Teirim. That's from the Rebbe Rashab. But some pratim here that he's adding here, because he's basing it on the Maimer of the Samat Tzedek. So that's why the Lashen is here. I don't remember that Samat Tzedek brings here right away. I think Samat Tzedek brings the Mekubalim and Rishenim. They have it here in Eira Teira and Yom. You have to see the Lashenis here. Here they touch that the Lachen is going on the Kubalim. It's before the whole brackets. I touched the wrong. No, are they 80? Didn't see it. Where's the brackets beginning? It means that I'm bad. Is that huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they say it's nicht so. The Hainu is still here as a bracket. Yeah. Okay, this whole I go. So this is you have to see the Lashon Eira Teira. That's Mistam Hemshech. So all these brackets, that was this again. Yeah. That's going back to that's the Mekubalim and Rishenim. I think this Lashon is from Samat Tzedek. I did ask. I made a mistake. I said wrong. V'Vichu b'zeh she'ein it has mechnes asvus mamish. Dikshu lefi zeh lishanisi she'rei kapara makro le'elvis. Yeah. It means if you're going to say that within this habas, that's we have to see later Shal in the Ramak. If you say that according to before being that the Shal is called Teirim within the Shabbos, if according to the Ramak only Atzvos is blikvol, and you have an idea of blikvol the way it's expressed in Bria, Yesh Me'ayin expresses Ein Sof, expresses blikvol, and that's not an article of Ad. That's only Atzvos is blikvol. So the Yamot V'To is comment that the Ein Sof, which is only Atzmos, which the Tchun of Ein Sof only exists in Atzmos if you have the way it's in the Bria. That's a Musik Machine. According to Kabbalah Marishayim, and according to the Ramak, that only Atzmos is Blikvol, only Atzmos is Ein Sof, and you have a reflection of Ein Sof of Blikvol in this Havas Shmayim. And this Tchune, so to speak, of Ein Sof is only Atzmos Ein Sof. So it'll be a Shail of Shina. So if you go to the Havas Atzmos Mamish, Tishul V'zech Lishnisi, Shere Kapana Marko Leilmas, Ulivrem Nicha, Shais Havas B'chinas HaKeser, Eir Ratzim. So this B'chinas Atzmos Lishnisi Klau, B'shein B'chinas Marko Leilmas, K'ma Ratzim Minis V'Vendis, Chulu. So he says Shechina Saratzin Nikra Ein Sof, same idea as before Lehez Man Shlei Ratzin. Just Mishpira Shanameshim Shechina Saratzin Nikra Ein Sof. Who Sibur Yishein Alanim Tzayim Ein Sibur L'Mayim. Li is B'chinas Makar Alanim Tzayim. You see what he says here? So that's what he says before in that go. Means which darga is the ultimate when you want to what mitzad mitzias elam is? What's the ultimate source of mitzias? The ultimate source, the amitas mitzias, the amitas mitzias is Eibishter, which is blikvol, which has no hagbala. Shlilas kol atayrin, that even the musik of blikvol doesn't exist. That's an inyan which is not sibur rishein alanim tzayim. That's an inyan which is b'chal not shayach as the whole musik of mitzias. That's not the ultimate truth that mitzias is able to reach. That's the truth. So what's the sibur rishein alanim tzayim? What's the original cause for the mitzias elemis? What's the amitas mitzias of elemis? The sibur shel I'm saying is she'ain sibur lemayli imanu. Atzvos not make this. Atzvos is not a deeper. It's not a deeper source. It's a different realm of reality. Legamri. There is no reality altogether. So nach another in ganz. Liz, because I'm saying that's kesef. Muhusi vatzmus and nikar sibus kol sibus. He's the reason for everything. Man and himsakel. The atzvos doesn't relate to anything. Oliver Tzen is als gewarn. Mit that atzvos say Oliver Tzen is gewarn avelt. But not both in Welt. Welt doesn't contain it. That's what it is. He says, Shemana Nimtzaka. Everything, of course, everything exists because Oliver Tzeni of Asim should be a Welt. But there's no kiruv between Etzem and the Metzias Elomus. Which musig of Elikus is Metzias Elam is able to relate to, is their ultimate truth, is their ultimate siva, that they're able to trace back their ultimate source to Elikus. That's the Bligvul of Elikus. Atzmos is within his own element, so to speak, and doesn't express himself. It doesn't relate. He's not Meir in Metzias. So he can't relate him as a siva. There's no yachas in Asos and the Mitzvah. Shemana Nimtza Kel. Or Daitim of Sholeimar, after Zacholim, the Raktim Mitzvah is Bach Nimtza Ratz. Avaleshu becomes Bach Nimtza. He doesn't relate to Ratz. I'm saying that Musig of Elikus, the way the Elikus relates to Mitzias, in the most edel Sta'ifir, which is Pshitis. No, not a specific form. Bligvul. Bligvul is a musik that a niver is able to relate to. That's for a certain form. It's not a form. It's not a geder. It's not a gvul. But it's a musik. But the Eibush the way is beyond any musik. Beyond saying the idea beyond. Shnilas kol atayrim. Not bligvul and agvul. That's a bulti mitzias. That's nishkin inyan. And you can't even say nishkin inyan. He's whatever he wants. There's no musik of mitzias there. So that's something which mitzias can't relate to. Beyond all idea of mitzias. So that doesn't relate to the mitzias altogether. Sibur Shein al Hanem Tzoyim means the ultimate truth of how much mitzad the realm of reality are able to reach is what's the ultimate truth that reality is able to reach? That the Eibush is bligvul, the bligvul of Elikus. Say whatever that's already up to. I'm not saying seichel v'asag in pnimis, but I'm saying any the tachlis of Elikus that's able to be made in mitzias. So there has to have some taich. If it has no taich at all, if she does call it teirim, there's no shaykhs in mitzias altogether. Tal Terebe is a whole different Indian. The fact that the Ramak says, okay, we can start a little later, or okay, so we'll do the Ramak next time.